And the last readings that you've done have kind of been around meetings and events and prepping for CEO type things. So the conversation today is, how do we do events? We've had several speakers come in and talk about different kinds of events. I think it's really important in public relations to define what you mean by an event. There are so many people who walk into my office and say, I want to do events, that is all I want to do, and tell me how to get there. And the first question I always ask is, what kind of event are you talking about? Because when you say event, in my mind as a PR person, there are so many genres. You could be talking about fundraising, you could be talking about corporate events, you could be talking about the Super Bowl, you could be talking about weddings. Usually at Biola it's the last one, weddings. But it's just good to define that. And the next question I'm usually asked is, why should I get a degree in public relations to do this? Why am I going to work this hard or get all of these details? And I think that's a fair question, because there's a lot of ways to go about doing events. Now, I've been very honest with you from day one that I'm very biased. I love public relations, and somehow I find a connection with PR and anything in the universe. So yes, I see connections to events, and I want to take today to explain what those connections are. Not every event is a public relations function, but there are most definitely PR events, and there are ways that PR complements events that aren't designed to be a public relations function. So work with me back to the beginning of the class. We talked that PR was influencing values, opinions, beliefs, and behaviors. So events that are PR events are those that are designed to influence values, opinions, beliefs, and behaviors. There are a whole bunch that fall outside of that spectrum, but PR-specific events are those. However, the skill set we've been building for PR feeds into events easily, because you always want to research. You want to know your background. You want to have a purpose in the event. You want to have goals set up for how you know whether it was successful or not. Should your organization do that event again? You want to be able to plan, to think, to organize. All of those are PR tasks. So one thing my mentor told me when I started looking at an event is you always start at the end. Figure out what you want people thinking last, which was interesting to me because she was like the PR guru that I had met, and I thought, why am I starting last? I usually think first, what do they think when they walk into a room? But her point was very valid, and I've come to start planning everything this way. What is the last thought? Because that's what people walk away with. That's what they're thinking about. And she actually told me that piece of advice while I was planning my wedding. PR people go nuts while planning weddings. And I was having a blast. I had everything coordinated and color-coded tabs and all sorts of things. And it dawned on me, that last moment, that's where I'm going to influence people's values, opinions, beliefs, and behaviors the most. And when my husband and I got married, we had some very specific reasons for why we chose to have a public wedding, why we invited so many people. PR me had plans through everything. I had a reason for every song I chose, and yes, there's the bride side that's like, oh, this is so romantic. But there was a side of me that was like, this is a message I'm conveying. This is where I'm going to see it introduced. I hope they see it in my invitations here. So, for example, I picked colors that were red and yellow to symbolize friendship that blooms into romance. And then I wanted them to see how that honored families, and we had a patriarchal thing weaving through because he's Korean and we wanted to honor cultures and we wanted to display that. So these concepts flowed through my mind. Probably every bride has her plans, but for me I was seeing that through a PR lens. And at the end I thought, what is that walk away moment? That should influence everything you do. Whether you're planning a board meeting, whether it's a staff meeting, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's a wedding, anything. What is that last moment, and work your way backwards. So we'll revisit that, but let's talk through some different things. So events and meetings, I'm just using the word events today. Events in my mind are anything where people are face to face, although now that's even becoming digital. You have digital events as well. So it's a group gathering of some sort where some interaction happens. From a PR standpoint, these events are to influence values, opinions, beliefs, and behaviors. It could be a meeting. It could be a board. It could be staff. All of those things I'm calling events for the rest of today. So my advice is plan, plan, plan. We just had a big event last Friday for the journalism department, and someone was asking me, they're like, oh, you're so stressed. I had a migraine that day. If you have migraines and you're in the PR industry, it probably will continue the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, of course I'm stressed. This is PR. Like, I know there's going to be 5 crises before the end of the night, and that's okay. That's how it should be, because this is PR. This is events. Events are unknown, and there's always something. So with events, you plan, 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 because something's going to go wrong and you want to have everything else at least planned enough so you can address whatever chaos hits you that day. And planning isn't just what do you want to happen or where do you want people to come. The PR person has to go much deeper. You have to start at the end, but also at the beginning. So you're thinking about 2 spots at once. What do you want people to think at the end, and how do you get them to even begin that process? Remember when we talked about the diffusion adoption theory, where people get introduced to an idea, they test it out, they come? I see that a lot with events, especially, I guess, events that you don't have to go to. It's different if you're a staff meeting, because if the people don't show up, they lose their job. But if you're throwing something where people have the option of attending or not, then you're really introducing them to an idea and trying to convince them to come. So think about that last moment, and how do you get people to start down a path that leads them at that moment? What type of invitation do they need? One year when we were doing a student event here on campus, we decided students were really digital. So we were just going to go digital for our invitations, do everything social media. It was such a huge flop. People didn't respond. And it's because, like it or not, as advanced as we are or not, we like that physical. There's something about getting that physical that makes you feel like, oh wow, you actually thought of me. You sent me something in the mail. I thought that was going to be too old school. I didn't think that was going to be true for the college demographic. I knew it was true for other ones. It turned out to be very true. So now we still do physical invitations no matter what, because it matters. It gets people to come. We tried Facebook RSVPing, but then we realized that little action to say I'm coming on Facebook, that's nothing. That's like waving to people you don't even know. When you RSVP on Facebook, there's no commitment. So how do you get people to make a commitment? All of these are questions you begin asking. So let's talk about some definite things you use. In all sorts of events, you use timetables or run sheets, depending what terminology you want to use. You have a theme, and you need things that support it. I kind of like to think of it as food, friends, and fun. That's my way of approaching everything, every kind of event. So I'm going to start at small events, very minimal events that are easy, that you'll probably have every week if you're in the PR industry, and that's events with staff. So 6th Street PR here on campus has student staff meetings all the time. Maybe you've been doing meetings with your groups in this class for the different campaigns. If you're a group leader, those meetings should not just be, oh hey, I have an hour time where we talk. Those meetings are 1 hour to get a ton done. You need to inspire people, you need to remind them what they're doing, and you need to make forward progress. So you have a timeline, AKA an agenda. That should be sent out to everyone before they arrive at the meeting, preferably a day before, at the very least, the night before, so they can review it. This ensures that everyone's on the same page. That practice of sending out an agenda for a meeting applies here now to school, but also to when you start having CEO meetings, when you're having business meetings with other groups and talking about partnerships. It helps to have a plan of what you're talking about and when you're talking about it. It keeps everyone on the same page, and it focuses that conversation. It's so easy to have meetings be wasted time. And that's usually why people don't want to come to a meeting. They feel like it's pointless. There's no reason to show up because there's nothing happening or they don't have something to contribute. But an agenda outlines how everyone's contributing and where you're headed. Meetings need to have a theme. So theme could be a banquet, it could be for a nonprofit, fundraiser, but a theme for a business meeting would also be translated to why are you having it? What is the purpose? If you don't have a reason to meet, don't hold a meeting. There are a lot of groups on campus who have weekly meetings, and for my PR students, once they're done with their tasks for that year, that semester, whatever they're working on, I tell them to stop meeting. Because there's really no point to have a system of, well, we always meet on Mondays, right? So we have to keep meeting because the semester's not done. That doesn't make sense. Every meeting should have a theme. Every meeting should have a purpose. So for a business meeting, for a staff meeting, your theme is really forward movement on the client project. It could be a certain day of figuring out all the logistics. It could be the day of putting all the pieces together. It could be the day of practicing the presentation. But there has to be some reason why you're meeting, and that has to be clear to everyone in the group. A theme for a larger event carries a different context. So let's say you're having a fundraising event. The theme under a fundraising event is really the motivation behind it. So sometimes people are like, well, the theme is our organization. Okay, your organization is great, that's really good, but that can't be your theme. So there's been, I've grown up with so many nonprofits, so many are flooding me right now, but some that I really am just passionately driven by. One is Angel Tree. I love Angel Tree. Those organizations, they partner with kids who have parents or siblings in prison, and at Christmas time they give them presents, and during the summer you can go to a camp. There's all sorts of amazing things, and I will go off on that, and that's not the point of today's class theme. So the theme of Angel Tree fundraisers is not Angel Tree is a great organization. The theme of an Angel Tree fundraiser is these gifts change lives. This project that touches students and kids and families who never did anything wrong, they're suffering and you can change it. Come, hear about it, be part of this movement. That is something people get on board with. It's about the influencing of value, opinion, belief, and behavior. People don't fall in love with organizations. They fall in love with causes. People don't come to banquets because you ask them to. It's because of something they're invited into, an environment, a feeling. Somehow they're different because they participated in your event, or they have the opportunity to make a difference. So either you're making them different because they came, or they're making a difference by coming. But those are themes you have to weave throughout. And that theme should be present on the type of invitation you send out, the website that you launch, any material you have available, the person who's speaking, the kind of decorations you choose, and the follow-up material, which we'll get to. A theme is much bigger than just decorations. I had one group, one year the theme was gonna be white. And I just couldn't get it. I was like, okay, like I see that as like a color, I see it as like a decorating. I don't see white as a theme. And so they went on and they came up with a different theme that was behind white. They used white to decorate, but they came up with a theme that wove throughout. 2 years ago at the journalism banquet, they were trying to come up with an idea of what does it mean to be a journalist, and maybe we'll just talk about like journalism is truth-telling. And I was like, well, journalism, okay, it is truth-telling and you have to be strong and you have to go out there, but is that a theme or is that like a concept? And those can be tricky. So then they came up with emboldened, and that was their theme. Everything had emboldened, and in the letters there was cheetah print because emboldened is about being like fierce. And so they had all of this be fierce stuff woven throughout. And then the speaker talked about being bold in your presentation, and everywhere, it was everywhere. There was a cheetah skin at the event. That was a little, I wasn't sure what to think about it, but we had it. And so it was very clear, okay, that theme is emboldened, it's everywhere. That's what you want to think about. For me, for my wedding, it was red and yellow, friendship and love. That was the theme. When you hold a staff meeting, when you hold a fundraiser, when you hold a wedding, when you hold a concert, any event, what is the theme? What is the purpose? How does that weave together? And then you always need to think about support. It's not good enough to get your timetable together and have a theme. You need to figure out how do people experience that, and how do you enhance what you want to happen. And that's where I think about food, fun, and friends, in a different order apparently. When I hold anything, I want people to feel connected. People do not enjoy going to events where they don't feel connected. So somehow you have to figure out, is this group that you're bringing together, do they have previous connections? Do they have some way of interacting? So a staff, they already know each other. Fundraisers, you're probably gonna have a lot of people who don't know each other. How are you gonna arrange the tables so that you mix the groups in a way that they interact? Or if you're at a concert, do you have a pre-mixer mingle? How do you make people connect in such a way that they feel comfortable with that event, even if they came by themselves? How do you make them friends, in a sense? Food. Food is amazing. You would be surprised what it can do. When I first came on campus, the PR department, or the PR emphasis, was not well known in the department. And not very many people came over to the office to see us because they didn't know I existed. So my strategy was not to spam you with emails, but to bring cookies. I brought in probably cookies like every other week my first year here, because no one ever came to the department. So many people commented, wow, like journalism students aren't coming through. I was like, oh, just wait, food does it. Now I have not only lots of students just coming by to see me regularly, which is what my ultimate goal was, I have faculty from other departments stopping by and asking when I'm baking cookies again, repeatedly. And that is because I know food does something. Food makes people feel connected. Food is fun. Food is free when they come, and it can just break the ice. So I try at anything that's really major to have some sort of food, something. cookies or a vegetable tray or even nice drinks, something that you can have out there so there's a way to facilitate interacting with people. People have conversations over food, people talk over food, people meet over food. So bring donuts to a staff meeting. Make sure you have a dessert table at a fundraiser. Make sure you have something for in between at weddings. Whatever you're doing, make sure there's something for people. But food is not the only support. You need to think of things like music. Do you need that? What kind of materials do you have to have available? If you're throwing a large-scale meeting for an organization, you most likely need a report available for everyone. So it needs to be created, it needs to be proofed, it needs to be printed, and it needs to be at each person's table. Last week, and there were, I think, 2 people from here who attended, it was a panel session for the advanced PR students. They were presenting to some outside professionals. When they walked into the room, I made sure that on their desk, which, I mean, okay, you're working with a desk trying to make it look super professional, but we had a set of pens, we had a water bottle, and I had the rubrics and every student's file available for them. So they felt like I planned for them to be there, and they had everything they needed. If they didn't have a pen, I gave them a pen. And the pens were kind of an acute case because not only did I want them to have a pen, but I wanted it to kind of be like a gift because there was no food, so it was kind of like that. You want intentionality behind the support. Everything those people need, you want. So if you're in a room and you plan to be there for like 4 hours, make sure there's a box of Kleenex. Inevitably, someone's going to sneeze or need that. Make sure that at the start of a meeting, if it's going to go for several hours and you want to be able to just keep moving, but people to feel free to step out if they need to, you say that at the beginning and provide instructions for if you need the restrooms, here's where they're located, here's our vending machines, here's when we're planning to stop. If you're stopping for lunches or something, it's nice to have either lunch served, or if you're at a large-scale conference, a little list of where people can go for lunches. Just think through, what is a person going to need if they're to fully participate in this event? Whatever kind of event it is, what do they need for that to be a good experience? Because you do not want people thinking about, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to eat? Where am I going to go after this? When is this going to be done? What are we going to cover? You don't want that in their minds. You want them focused on what you're talking about. So make sure that there's nothing to distract them. And that's because you've planned. You've answered those questions. So that's a basic of event. One of the things about a PR person is that you realize an event is not in and of itself. An event is something that fosters a relationship. It's not the end, it's not just the beginning. People have experience with you somehow before they get to an event because they arrived at your event. Somehow they had to know about it. So that's somehow previously before they walk in the door, they know something about you. At the end, never just stop an event. You want to have a follow-up, either thank yous to people who donated, and usually there's like a bounce back. So you send a thank you, and if it's a nonprofit, something to, and if you do want to continue supporting us further, here's how to do it. Some way that you keep that relationship going. If you are doing a staff meeting and you're running it, make sure to send a note out afterwards. Thanks guys, that was a great meeting, looking forward to next week. Something that acknowledges that there's a continued process. If you're doing a CEO meeting, what I used to do, because I was never the CEO, I was the person helping put on things, take notes throughout the meeting. And you can shoot those notes to individual people like, John, thank you so much for your contribution today. Just so you know, I did make a comment that you were going to be bringing this to our next meeting. Look forward to that. And I also noticed that you asked if we had these resources. I'll make sure to have them on your desk tomorrow. Something like that. Then you're individually reaching out. You're letting people know that you were present during the meeting. You understood what they need. You understood what you're expecting. And it's a recap. It brings everyone on the same page. The beautiful thing about email is you can copy so many people on it. So you keep everyone on the same page. One of the dangers is doing too much verbally because there's no record of that. And no matter what you do, whether it's a verbal phone conference, whether you're just all sitting around, you want some written confirmation. And that's another thing that this follow-up does, is it allows for that. Yes, someone should take notes, especially if it's a staff meeting or a CEO or stockholders meeting, but somehow to just recap and have a record, it's good to put it in writing. And if you are going into PR, the reality is you're going to work in a lot of digital environments. You need to be able to keep people on the same page without face-to-face contact. And that's why you use CC and BCC. You guys all know the difference, right? So CC, everyone can see who's written on there. BCC is like a blind carbon copy, which is kind of ironic because it's not carbon copying, but it's so no one can see just that person. So if you BCC someone, no one has any idea that they also received the email. I used to BCC my boss if there was something a little sticky that I wasn't sure if it was going to be a problem, still doing my job, responding to a client or whatever, but being like, I just want you to know. I want someone else to see this. That's how you can use it. Carbon copy is great for a team. I just put everyone in the to section if they're all included in the conversation. It just depends, but make sure you're keeping good records. So let's go back to the timetable run sheet for an actual day of, because it was just last week that I told someone, oh yeah, make sure you give me the run sheet, and they weren't sure what it was, and I realized I'd just kind of throw out that information. A run sheet is a step-by-step plan for the day, and step-by-step, like minute by minute. So if you are planning an event, you want to have when the event starts, listed, the time, and then the opening person. Maybe it's 7 p.m. the event starts, and the welcome begins. 7:05, the welcome is done. If you're doing a Christian event, the prayer has been said so people can eat. If you're doing a fundraiser, whatever's next, 7:05. Then at 7:05 to 7:20, you're having someone present, someone speak. And in your mind, you need to realize that unless it's a very specific event, you really don't want people talking for an hour on an end. That's not how we interact. So small chunks, maybe you're going to have a slideshow, then maybe you're going to do this. You have it listed minute by minute and who's responsible for what. Then you have that master list and hopefully some people supporting you, but you also provide just the specifics to those who need it. So you let the speaker know, hey, at 7:20 you're going on, or the band know, these are the times you'll be playing. And you're kind of keeping it all going. Usually you'll have an MC, a master of ceremonies, who's helping it, but at the end of the day, if this is your event, you're responsible to make sure everyone's where they should be, at the time they should be, and running how they should be. If you remember Carissa, when she came and spoke, she was talking about how she interacts with the client to answer all sorts of questions day of and to be there because her team needs to be making sure things happen. And as the person who's in charge of ensuring the whole thing comes off, she's going to do what it takes to make sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. That's kind of your role. So we've covered events and meetings, same sort of thing. We've covered plan, plan, plan. What kind of events are your favorite events? I'm going to break this up because I know that if I talk for more than 20 minutes, people tune out. I do too. So turn to the people next to you, talk about an event that you really like. I want you guys to discuss an event you like and something you've seen go very wrong in events. What did you guys decide this is a great event? Did you guys all talk about events you don't love? Anyone like events? Okay, what kind of events don't you like? What bugs you in an event? Yeah.
We talked about, or at least I did, about high school graduations. The speeches, it's like one after the other, and there's never like a break in between. My high school kind of realized that and did something different to combat that, but like.
Nice. What do you do?
What we do is we have advanced choir come up and do like a song between every couple things, or we have like a dedication to something. We're also a Christian school, so we could do that.
Yeah.
But it was just vastly different from my best friend's graduation, which was like 4.5 hours of nothing but speeches.
Texture is so important. I think you're describing exactly what happens when we forget that the event is for people who are attending, not for us and just what we want to present. And that can be really hard at events like graduations when there's so much meaningful things you're trying to pack in. But if your audience is so bored, that's such a bad sign. Good observation. Other things? You guys are so quiet now. Yeah.
Like, it's like a staff and they're first working together, and then they do like some kind of fellowship or bonding thing. The thing they pick is like really lame or weird. They're so annoying.
The awkward icebreakers.
Yeah.
Icebreakers are hard. That is true. Other things? All right. Well, let me share some of the things I hate with events. One is the lack of texture. If you have something back to back, and that's something that typically you find in ceremonial type events, is there's too much information. And in this day and age, not only are we less likely to listen to them, we're less likely to return. So as a PR person, I usually ask myself not only how is this event going, but how does this event build on the next time I'm going to do it? Because you will get a reputation for it. So for example, we have experienced journalism. Anyone attend that before they came? Oh good, this is encouraging. Experienced journalism is the opportunity for prospective students to come check out Biola for just the journalism. 3 or 4 years ago, We called it boot camp. And we got so much feedback that people didn't want to come because they felt like we were intense. And unless you were like really an intense person, that you weren't welcome. And I was like, oh, like that hadn't been our intention. Like it was supposed to be like, you know, jump in and get excited. But that reputation kind of killed us. And the year before I was able to come, we actually had to cancel the event because we didn't have enough registrants. That created a problem on a couple of fronts. We canceled last minute, so the people who were going to come weren't too thrilled. We canceled, and our partners who had been working with us to get the word out felt like, well, why did we do all that work just to have you back out? So we've taken 4 years to rebuild from that. Every time we hold the event, it's never just about this year. It's always about the next year. It's always saying, if we do this, what will happen here? And if we do this, what will happen here? As a PR person, when you look at an event, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen tonight? And what's the best thing? Plan for something in the middle, but you also want to think, if the worst happens, what am I going to do and how do we recover from that? Great examples happen every year with Super Bowl. I think this year, wasn't it the electricity went out? Was that what happened? We've had wardrobe malfunctions, those kind of things. What are worst case scenarios? So for example, sometimes you may be in the situation where you're not sure your speaker is going to show up. That's pretty worst case. Can you rearrange your schedule? Or what could you do? If you know your speaker is kind of one of those people who you're not sure, can there be things you do before to plan that's going to make sure that when you get here, they're arriving, they're actually on time, and they're there? Or what about electronics? Anytime you do anything with electronics, something goes wrong. So can you put someone in place? Can someone on your team be in charge of checking all of those things? Your job is to run through every worst case scenario and try to do something that's going to prevent it. There will be something that goes wrong, but preferably it's going to be a low worst case, not a high worst case. Not that a wedding is the best case example, but on my wedding day, I had a bridesmaid back out. My wedding was at the next day and it was like midnight, so she was not coming that day. Normally, I think I would have freaked out. The PR side of me was like, no, this is cool. This is crisis PR. Okay, we're going to have these people stand here and we're going to do this. And it was fine. And most people were like, don't cry. It's not a big deal. It's your wedding day. Just enjoy. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, this was fine. It's just a person. You got to plan for this. That's how you want to approach things. As a PR person, if you are getting ready to launch a product and no press is there, what are you going to do? How do you get the word out? All of these things are what you should think through. If you remember Matt Prince when he was here, he was saying that one of the values he brings to a team is that he's able to absorb a lot of that anxiety because he doesn't get worked up. That's a pretty good thing in events. You don't want to be worked up because one, if you are having a breakdown and biting everyone's head off as they tell you about the things that are going wrong, people are going to be afraid of you and no one's going to want to come tell you what's going wrong. So then things are going to go wrong without you knowing it until it just explodes. Where if you're one of those people who's like, no, okay, let's work with this. I see that you're doing the best you can. Let's move forward in this way. That's what it takes to do really well. And like it or not, if I'm not an events person, it's not my cup of tea. I don't usually look forward to them just because they're high energy and I'm more like the let's sit at the beach and have a cup of chai kind of person. But I end up doing a lot of events. One, because I'm here and we work with students and there's lots of events with students. But also because PR naturally lends itself to opportunities where people come together and you influence values, opinions, beliefs, and behaviors. So when I look at my schedule, I see events everywhere. Maybe that wouldn't be the case for most people. But each time I go to a meeting, I see that as an event. And I'm thinking, how does this play into my long-term goals for whatever I'm meeting with? And every time I have a student group meeting, that's another event I'm part of. And every time I participate with a board or one of the organizations I volunteer with, that's an event. And inevitably, I'm put on things to organize more because as people, you need to create opportunities for connection to move forward. Otherwise, you're just by yourself all the time. PR people are there to bridge. So you will be doing meetings, you will be doing some sort of thing, even if that's not your niche in the industry, you want to do events well. You want to understand how to do it. So what I think we're going to do for about the next 10 minutes, I don't think it'd take more than that, in your groups, come up with a comprehensive list of what you think you need for an event. Now this is generic events. Events could be applied to CEO meetings, it could be applied to launch of products, it could be applied to a press junket, it could be applied to a wedding, it could be applied to anything. What is the list generically of what you need to have in place? So go ahead and work for the next 10 minutes on that.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.